Fight scene in The Dark Knight Rises. Batman exhorts Catwoman to put away her weapon. No killing, he says. No guns. Sadly, in the Century 16 theater last night, life did not imitate that bit of art. And the midnight premiere of that film became a killing ground. Tonight, families are reeling. A young man is in custody, and police are trying to figure out how to disarm the suspect's apartment loaded with explosive booby traps.
Theater is not all he had planned. As we are on the air, bomb squads are continuing their dangerous work at his apartment. Police say it is a cat's cradle of tripwires and booby traps.
Right of the screen toward his car, which was parked just outside of that exit, and there they think that he geared up for the attack. And at approximately 12:37 or 12:38, he came back in. Now, what witnesses say they saw was at some point a canister was tossed in here, spraying gas into the room, some sort of tear gas or pepper spray. They say he fired into the ceiling first, and then this man who was wearing all black with a bulletproof vest.
300 East Alameda Avenue. They're saying somebody's shooting in the auditorium. There is at least one person that's been shot, but they're saying there's hundreds of people just running around.
So yeah, did you ever look up that that Jessica, what's her face, July?
Yeah, I did. I did.
Fucking odd, right?
Very much so. So, survive one shooting, go to a completely different country, fucking get killed in another one.
7 weeks later. Yeah.
I hope she actually did follow through and live every day to its fullest, like she said she was going to.
Yeah. I mean,
I guess that sinking feeling she was talking about was, her.
Yeah, what if? Like, it's crazy.
Not quite as crazy as Old Boy's Notebook.
Some of that, I mean, I don't know, maybe it's because I've been fucking reading about him and watching shit about him since like 4:30 this morning. But some of that shit started to make a little bit of sense. Like, well, mathematically, he's got it pretty much figured out here.
Well, yeah, if you think of yourself as nothing, and then, if you do math with that to multiply it to anything else, it's going to turn into nothing.
Yeah. The only thing that's between him and God, if he creates enough nothings, is nothing. Or the devil. He didn't seem to really care which way he went with it.
No, not
as
at
long
all.
as he had that infinite integer.
All he wanted to do was get rid of the question. The question is irrelevant if nobody is alive.
Yeah, then he had 8 pages of the word why. And then it's like after he did those 8 pages of why, it went into he was actually planning at this point. He worked out the math, and then he broke down for a little while.
Yeah. Like he had it about figured out. I mean, he got stuck in that question of, what is the meaning of life? Why am I here? And he got stuck there for a while.
Well, I mean, he was actually a pretty brilliant math kid. Like, did you see his a speech he did in front of the class? Like,
yeah. This is another guy that was probably way too damn smart to be around normal people.
Yeah. He also shouldn't have been around normal people. He should have been taken away from normal people a couple of times before this actually happened. So, in case you're just coming on or you didn't know what the hell the intro was about, we're going to be talking about the 2012 shooting in Aurora, Colorado at the Century 16 movie theater during the midnight screening of The Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, there was some screaming.
Yeah. And tactical clothing.
Yeah, very much
both
so.
Both on Christian Bale and James Holmes. Did you see his whole list of armor?
Yeah, where did he get this shit?
Right? Like, I was able to see that he found his gun. He got his guns legally, just spread it out over a little bit of time.
Yeah.
When did he pick up a neck armor? A Kevlar cup?
Yeah, crotch armor. Who the hell thinks about that when they're just going out there to Rampage shoot somebody? Seriously.
And then, and this guy, he's a little bit different than our other ones. He wasn't just like a total born loser. He was just very socially awkward. He kind of reminds me of Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah, I can draw the correlation.
Yeah, he kind of reminded me of a Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah, this is definitely one more on the books of people that had a whole life ahead of them. You know, a lot like the kids from Columbine, you know, doing very well. Actually, he was probably better, and he was actually studying for a PhD in neuroscience, something along that.
Neuroscience.
Yeah, neuroscience. So yeah, he definitely wasn't a dummy. He had his shit together, and he was, from his friends in school and stuff, he was pretty brilliant. Not awkward, not socially awkward in
Not really,
any way.
no.
Fairly outgoing. Had a decent personality. Got into college, found him a girlfriend even, and you know, was living the high life from what you can tell from what everybody else was saying.
Yeah. So he was born in December of 1987 in San Diego. His dad was a mathematician and a scientist with degrees from Stanford University, UCLA, and UC Berkeley. And his mother was a nurse.
Psychiatric nurse.
Possibly. I didn't see that. Although I did see the video with her. Basically, it's, hey, what about me? Nobody remembers the whites. Like, now I watched the Dylan Klebold's mother's TED Talk or Med TED or whatever the
TED
fuck.
Talk.
And it was really good. I was able to empathize with her. But this woman, I didn't feel the same.
The only thing I'd say with her is that, you know, she did take an appropriate stance in the courtroom when she was saying her piece. But she did kind of still lay it to herself a little bit, you know, with the little bit of what about meism.
Yeah,
But she had at least acknowledged, you know, the victim's suffering, and you know, was, you know, hopeful that they would find a way to make peace with the situation. But you know, I mean.
Yeah, it's
Probably too soon from when she did that.
yeah, or you know, maybe she should have just done what she was talking about and just stayed quiet. It would have been much easier. He at 11 years old, he tried to commit suicide. That was his first suicide attempt.
I'd missed that one.
Oh, he had a little brief period of social decline around 11, 12 years old. He began to suffer from mental health issues in middle school and attempted suicide at 11. During his childhood, he was frightened of what he called nail ghosts that would hammer on the walls at night. He went to see a psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist basically said that he was depressed. He had been obsessed with killing for over a decade by the time he went to see this psychiatrist. I mean, he was grown by this point, but he had been obsessed with killing for over a decade. Despite all that, he graduated from high school in 2006. And then he got a bachelor degree at the University of California, Riverside. He decided to become a graduate, go to pursue a graduate degree in neuroscience, and he moved to Aurora, Colorado. He had roommates where he lived there. He had an apartment off of campus.
Yeah, was in study groups.
Yeah.
Like I said, I found him a girlfriend.
He had a dating profile on Match.com, profile on Adult Friend Finder, and one of my favorite things about this dude, he would hire sex workers and leave reviews of their services on like online message boards. Like she went for the backdoor button a little too fast on that one. She wasn't as good as Candy. Now Candy, she could suck on that lollipop for a good long time and only hit the button at the appropriate times.
I just can't even imagine what the hell.
Like, what if he's like
all that.
he's got like a notepad while she's riding him. He's like, 2 stars. Would not recommend.
Would have been better if she'd have done a backflip.
Yeah, in October of 2011, he began dating this girl in his biology class. She broke up with him on St. Patrick's Day because she felt, you know, he got all weird after he saw her talking to another guy during their date. He often made like weird flat jokes that made other people uncomfortable. I can relate. And he often expressed his desire to kill people. she started telling him to get some help, and she didn't really take his claim seriously, though. They picked back up in January, but they broke off again in February.
Yeah, she didn't mention any of that in her trial,
Yeah,
in her witness thing.
Huh. He told a state-appointed psychiatric physician that their breakup contributed to his violent depression. So, yeah, that's his early school days.
Yeah, I had a feeling that the breakup probably had something to do with pushing him a little bit farther over the edge.
Yeah, it did. He doesn't really mention it too much in his book or his journal, except for when he talks about love and hate, and he only like kind of talks a little bit on it. And like you sent me that in it was a photocopied. What I really wanted was transcript copy, and there doesn't seem to be one.
No, there's no transcript copy that I can find.
But then again, after really finally sitting down and looking at it, there's so many like symbols that he uses and shit like that. You'd almost have to have, a picture of his journal with every page so you could understand his drawings.
And the main symbol that I saw pop up on almost every page was his math basically his math equation.
Yeah.
0 plus 1
you
plus
talking about the one that
infinity.
looked like a superhero symbol, kind of?
Yeah.
That one was, I gotta admit, that was kind of dope. Once you understand the concept of what he was talking about, he has like a sliding scale that he grades human beings on. And he puts himself at 0, and everybody else has a value of 1 plus or minus. And like the highest levels of attainment of, I guess, being a real person or being, someone is infinite plus or infinite negative.
Yeah.
And he didn't really care which way he went, and the more he multiplied himself against integers of 1, the more they became 0, and the more influence he had along that scale. It was really fucking convoluted and weird. It took me, like, walking away from this and watching South Park for a couple episodes to be like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
that math is making less sense again.
I believe your first response I heard you say that you come up with me is this guy's nuttier than a squirrel.
Nuttier than squirrel shit.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
But his math is sound.
I mean, he come up with the conclusion that there's just as much argument for life not to exist as life does to exist.
Yeah, if you come up with the arguments for life to exist, they're instantly negated by equally logical arguments that it should not. Therefore, it might as well not. And I'm like, the more I read this stuff, I was like I said, at this point, I'd been in James Holmes' mind for like, I don't know, 6 hours.
Yeah, I mean, I feel that he actually got stuck in the whole, what is the meaning of life? Why do I exist? Existential paradox deal and come to the conclusion that life really doesn't matter. And when life doesn't matter, nothing matters. So I think he fell into a nihilistic state that went way too deep.
Yeah. And while he's doing all this, here's some of the things he's got going on. 2011, he enrolled as a PhD student in neuroscience at the University of Colorado in Aurora. He received a $21,600 grant from the National Institutes of Health, which was dispersed in installments from July to June the following year. He also received like $5,000 stipend from the University of Colorado. Like, he was doing so well with his studies that he was getting constant grants. Like, he was already enrolled, and he was getting further grants from like the Institute of Health and whatnot.
Oh yeah, they had high hopes for him.
Meanwhile, he's doing math equations in his fucking composition book with little stick figures that represent the number 1, and if they're laying down, it's the number 0.
Yeah, he figured that for each one that he was able to take out would hopefully add 1 to himself.
Well, he had like it worked out to where it was kind of like the old like post-slavery era census. Like a black person was 3/5 of a person according to the census, and it was something like that with him. Like for every one he killed, he got a percentage of a point.
But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many points you grab if you always multiply it towards your negative zero self. It's always a 0. He might have had the trick. I mean, does it really matter?
I mean, well,
but should we end it all because we don't think it does? That's where I'm at. I mean,
that's how I've lived my life for several years now. No, I don't think anything's going to matter at the end of it.
No.
I'm every living being dies alone.
We're just fleas on a dog's back.
Yeah, but I'm not going to go ending other people's whatever they got left. I'm not going to end mine.
Nope.
At least not till I'm damn well and ready.
Yeah, something flipped in him, and he decided, you know what, it really doesn't matter, and the only way I'm gonna get rid of this question and find out the answer for sure is if people die.
And we're gonna have to pause. Yeah, so we're back. Y'all didn't even have to know that we left, but journalistic integrity, it's a thing.
Yeah, it was a 2-and-2 situation.
Yeah. So we were sitting there talking about his ideas that might as well everybody just die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the only way he was going to either solve or eliminate the question.
Yeah, he was always trying to solve for infinite, that's difficult,
Yeah, that's a task.
He went to a psychiatrist. Well, I know I've already mentioned this, but there's something else that comes up with the psychiatrist. I feel this is a good time because we're getting ready to come down to it. He went to a psychiatrist and started telling her that he's having fantasies and making plans to actually kill people and to murder. And as is her duty and fucking responsibility as a psychiatrist, she breaks what's called the patient confidentiality, which they're required to in these cases, where there's imminent threat to themselves or others.
Yep.
And she tries. She gets hold of his mother. She gets hold of I think somebody at the school.
Yeah, she called somebody at the school, which actually did result into some limitations of his access and stuff.
Yeah, they actually they revoked his access card. He couldn't get into the school at all.
Right.
But he was still able after this. He was still able to purchase a gun.
Well, that was because they did go and have an evaluation with him, but there was nothing at that time to show that he was actually a threat, according to the doctor. Now, I don't understand how she gets to that from him actually saying he's having thoughts about killing people.
Well, he was. He told her he was.
I know, but for some reason, it was either her or he was picked up and sent to have an evaluation. But at any rate,
trial, there was another one.
Well, after that, it was a lot of them. But there was another during that time that there was a phone call back to the officer that was, basically, we've done what we can. That I wish I could remember verbatim. I don't have it recorded with me. But there was no clear imminent threat, so there was nothing that they could do. But like I'm saying, if one doctor is telling, even if it was the second doctor, and I'm thinking it was, but even if it was the first or the second doctor that come up with this, somebody tells you they're thinking about killing somebody, and if you are the second doctor and the first doctor says, hey, I'm referring this person to you because they said this, that's the very definition of a clear and imminent threat to somebody.
Yeah. Maybe no charges could be filed, maybe he couldn't be committed, but maybe they could do something for future cases.
They were at least trying to get the 72-hour hold, and for some, the conclusion said, nope, we can't do it.
Yeah, and it didn't matter anyway. It was a little bit further in the future that he did it, but they should have at least made it to where, okay, until further evaluations have been done, until, and make it a period of time, maybe he shouldn't be able to purchase a firearm.
Yeah, even from my stance on that, I could agree with something like that. If you go tell a doctor that you're having thoughts about killing people, they should be able to reach over there, push a little button in your computer, and send this little thing off right now, and say, okay, we're going to have a 90-day hold, or until further evaluation. Yeah. If we can't figure out anything within 90 days, you get your rights back.
Now, what do you do about the guns he already has, though, at this point?
I would believe that would fall under the red flag kind of a law.
Go and confiscate them until further time.
Yeah, I hate it as much as I hate to even admit this, but as much as I love my right to have a damn gun, I don't want people like that to have a gun. I don't want me to have a gun if I get into that kind of a thought.
Yeah, agreed.
If I get pissed off enough where I go warn people, I'm getting ready to fuck people up, come take my shit. Make sure I have a hard time doing it.
Yeah, it's the least we can do as a society.
Yes, and that is from a hardcore 2A advocate. I agree with that stance.
Yeah, and so they really dropped the ball big time here. The psychiatrist did what she was supposed to do, but I feel like there's a lot of people have a little bit of blood on their hands.
Yeah, somebody slipped there.
They dropped a few balls there, and maybe that's something we need to start taking more seriously. Like, yeah, I don't know. Well, we'll get into that in our final topic. On
Oh
these.
yeah, it'll definitely come.
So now we're coming into the shootings, right? He was actually a psychiatric patient of the mental health services of the school prior to the shooting. Yeah. The prosecutor disagreed with that later on, but because of all this shit, it ended up not coming in case of the trial. But he was at least 3 mental health professionals before had been dealing with at least 3 mental health professionals at the University of Colorado before the massacre. I lost my thought.
Batman starts.
And there's this thing where they tried saying that he has like a huge fan of superheroes and that his apartment was decorated with Batman paraphernalia. And come to find out later, he had a single Batman mask. And right before he does this, he for some reason dyes his hair to kind of look like the Joker, even though to me it really didn't.
Yeah, he went red.
Yeah,
I'm not exactly sure what he was.
He looked
aiming
more
for.
like he looked more like the kid from The Incredibles.
Yeah.
Than he did the Joker.
Maybe the Riddler.
Maybe. He joined a gun club in Byers, Colorado, because he had
Tried.
Yeah, that's right. He fucking left a voicemail where he was babbling.
Leave a message. The guy still left a message. And
it was like he was trying to fool the people at the drive-thru. Hey, I need a large.
Yeah. Now to the gun club runners, owner, leaders. He did notify everybody else in the group.
Yeah,
this
he
guy
was like,
calls.
hey,
Make sure you don't
if he
admit
shows
him,
up,
refer him to me.
If he shows up, tell him to fuck off. He had bought a Glock 22. He bought 6 days later, he bought a Remington shotgun at a Bass Pro Shop. Then he went and did an oral exam at the university, failed it, and immediately went to buy a Smith & Wesson M&P 15 sport rifle.
Which is basically an AR-15 platform.
Yeah, that's
rifle.
everything I heard. They're basically saying it's like it's like an AR-15 copy. They were all bought legally. Background checks were performed, as we have discussed. 4 months prior to the shooting, he bought 3,000 rounds of ammunition for the pistol, 3,000 for the rifle, and 350 shells for the shotgun online. He ordered an assault vest, 2 magazine holders, and a knife. He also got spike strips. Now this touched me a little bit inside. When I was much younger, I always wanted to have like a spike strip deployer in the back of my car.
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, he apparently his plan was to get away, but I don't. Anyway, we're getting there.
He did a piss poor job at that.
He used half his ammunition at some gun range he was able to go to where he'd be left kind of alone. He went to one of them, and he used up like half of his ammunition, and pretty much came away from that, and he had made a statement that he still wasn't much of a good shot, so he decided to go check out. He was really going to do an airport, but security at airports and shit. He decided a theater was the next best place. And if anybody remembers when The Dark Knight came out, the prequel to Dark Knight Rises, the sequel to Batman Begins, it was a huge deal.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, theaters were, people were lined up around the blocks to see this movie.
People were showing up at this theater at 1 o'clock in the afternoon for a midnight showing.
Yeah.
And there were people there. They still had
So
to
he knew that the sequel, he knew, well, it actually was part 3, but he knew that Dark Knight Rises there was going to be a lot of people there. So he had gone to this theater, and he started looking at what would be the easiest access points, where people would be the most crowded and concentrated. And he found out that Batman was going to be in Theater 9 or whatnot. Well, he had tried to buy tickets for Theater 9, but what had happened was they overbooked it. They sold all the tickets for Theater 9 showing, midnight showing of Batman. And this was the premiere. And so what they did was they cleared out auditorium or whatever 8 and
Yep.
put all the overflow there. So he ended up with a ticket for 8. And they made a big deal about this. But
Once you go through a door in a theater, everybody knows you can
Nobody
walk
checks
into
a
whatever
ticket.
theater you want.
Yeah,
you
nobody
paid for a
check-
ticket, go watch what movie you want to
You
watch.
buy the ticket, you walk in the lobby and get your popcorn, you hand the ticket to a guy at the entrance of the dark hallways, and you disappear into those hallways.
Yeah.
And you stay there all fucking day.
Yeah.
But anyway, he was really concerned about this. He tried so hard. He almost, he would have got caught, I think, if somebody would have been like, why do you want this specific one? Because he was begging for it. But he finally got into Theater 8, and Theater 9. He snuck into Theater 9. And just before, when the movie got started, I think they were doing the trailers and shit.
Somehow he still found a seat.
Yeah, seating, I don't know if he ever actually sat down.
Yeah.
He did?
Yeah.
Okay, so he goes in
he
there.
was there for a good part of them, right up until Catwoman started stealing an object, was when he got up to
Okay,
take that imaginary phone call.
Yeah, he went out the side door, and it was dark outside, so nobody even really noticed. And he used something to, like, jimmy the door, keep it from closing.
Tablecloth clamp.
Yeah,
He
it was
clamped
weird.
it to the side of the door so it just wouldn't close. It didn't need to block the latch.
Yeah, it was pretty ingenious. And that little clamp would give you something to pull to open it back up. But he goes out to his car and he gears up. He grabs all his weaponry and everything. He's getting psyched for it. And he has like this moment.
He drops one of his gas canisters and spends a good minute or two looking for it.
Yeah. And during this time, he's kind of come down from a bit. He starts to have this time. He's starting to think about this shit. So he calls this crisis hotline, right? And this is one of those times where I say maybe divine intervention's a thing. Like, this is weird. Because he dropped this canister and he found it. And he's like, maybe I'll do this one more thing to stop myself. He calls this crisis hotline. He's on the phone for 9 seconds. And then the call's dropped. So he takes that as like a sign that, all right, well, this is going down. And, yeah, he walks into the theater. He's been gone for like 20 minutes. And he opens fire. I got my things on it here. Yeah, he starts off with the canisters, the tear gas canisters, and he throws tear gas canisters out in the theater, and then he fires a shotgun at the ceiling. Or the rifle. I heard both.
Yeah, the witnesses that were in the court appearances there, they have very different stories and perspectives about what actually happened, who got shot first, what weapons were shot first, including when they actually described him, the people in the front, and from the sounds they were hearing, the order in which the sounds. It was, one girl described it as a rapid fire, higher pitched pop, 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 and then a lower pitched boom, which would signify it was the rifle and then the shotgun, just by the sounds. And another guy said he walked in with the rifle, but the shooter himself says he came in with the shotgun.
Yeah.
And the other half of the witnesses say it was the shotgun first. So it's kind of muddied, but let's go with the shooter's actual events of what happened. That correlates with half the witnesses as what probably happened.
Yeah. He was also wearing noise-canceling headphones with like super loud techno music.
Yes, because he didn't want to be one with the crowd. He didn't want them to interfere in any way. He wanted to be disconnected as much as possible.
He was wearing his Buddha box.
But yeah, he popped off that shot in the ceiling, and then when people started moving, the first ones to move were the first ones that got popped.
Yeah. He fired 76 shots in the theater, 6 from a shotgun, 65 from his rifle, and 5 from the .40 caliber handgun. And it was just fucking pandemonium. Like, everybody's going one way or the other. He's just kind of firing, like randomly picking targets and aiming somewhat at them.
Yeah, he admitted that with that gas mask on, he really couldn't aim, so he was just pointing in the general direction and firing.
Yeah.
And what he was picking first was the people heading to the door so nobody else would.
Yeah.
And then it was anything that moved.
Police arrived within 90 seconds of the first 911 call, so we know it was a white neighborhood.
Well, it didn't help. It didn't hurt that the police station is 2 blocks away from the
Yeah, well,
So this is the one time that the cops actually showed up pretty quickly.
Yeah,
But
and
it's still minutes
well,
away.
they showed up, but they were ill prepared and I guess uninformed. They get there and they couldn't actually get into the theater because of all the tear gas, and people were like, up against the door and shit like that. They couldn't actually get in there and do anything while he was still shooting. Like I listened to the 911 calls and like you hear them and they're like, yeah, he's in there, he's shooting. We can't get in there. We need. Yeah, where's my goddamn gas mask? And eventually he goes through during all the pandemonium. He kind of slips out the side door and goes back to his car. And I don't really know why, but he just chills in his car. Like this, he has like maybe a 3-second window when he got to his car that he could have just got the fuck out of Dodge. But he doesn't.
Nope.
Yeah, he was just chilling in his car. They came and got him. No resistance.
Yeah, just a cop walking around to go in the back entrance, happened to see him getting into his car.
Yeah.
And,
he could have outgunned that cop immediately.
Yeah, but he
could have got away.
He didn't. He dropped his shotgun as soon as he ran it dry.
And the rifle was jammed.
The rifle, he loaded the magazine to full capacity, all 100 rounds. Don't do that, people. It jammed his rifle. He couldn't figure out how to clear it, so he started using the pistol. And he wanted to save a few rounds for just in case, so he could, take himself out, I imagine. Most of these guys have that particular out plan.
Well, I don't know if he did because he had those spike strips.
Yeah, I don't know.
Somewhere his plan changed, I think.
But he kept a few rounds of ammo in that pistol. He didn't fire it dry. And then he went outside to his car, and when he started to pull his armor off and throw it in the back and get in the car, and the officer was coming around the building and watched him do this as he was running down there. Come up to him, he didn't put up a bit of a resist, just, yeah, that was me. I acted alone. Oh, yeah. And by the way, be careful when you check my apartment and, the rest of my car.
Yeah, why would he? I feel like he went through all the trouble.
Yeah, he just gave up when he was done.
Yeah. And
I guess it didn't answer his question.
Or he realized that it was a bad idea. He finally got a moment of clarity.
Or that he was right and nothing really fucking mattered.
Yeah, I guess, maybe. The cops initially thought, the policeman that saw him initially thought he was another police officer because of all the fucking tactical gear.
Yeah.
He was described as being calm and disconnected. And here is where a big rumor started. These feds started saying that he called himself the Joker. But all the cops that were there and the prosecuting attorney all said that no, the federal officials started this rumor for no reason. He never referred to himself as the Joker. He never tried to be the Joker. But it's something the feds, for some reason, decided they wanted to start this bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, it's not hard to realize that would have been a far-fetched. He dyed his hair red. That's definitely not the Joker. Never has been, from the beginning to the end. It's always been green.
Yeah, green, or maybe sometimes a little bit of purple.
Yeah.
Like the Mark Hamill, when he was in the cartoon, it was green with like a shade of purple.
But yeah, red was definitely not that. So he was way off the mark if that was the case. So I don't believe that at all myself.
Yeah. The police interviewed more than 200 witnesses. And everybody was pretty sure he acted alone. Now, there was a huge, during the the upheaval and of the crisis actor bullshit and all that, there was this huge thing that the shooting, there was a theory that the shooting had actually happened, but that it had been carried out by some sort of like Delta kill squadron. And, I feel silly even discussing it, but I feel like there's still people out there that believe this shit. A team of Delta kill squadrons in a kill box room like that, there would have been no witnesses to talk to.
I would imagine.
They would have had better weaponry, better trained. They would have took complete control of the situation. They wouldn't have made it look like, they even were able to tell from where all the bullets were and the casings and the bullet holes.
Yeah, he didn't move very much.
Yeah, they were able to tell that there was one shooter in one location or one area of the theater.
What was it, 70-some shots?
Yeah.
He killed, 14 and wounded 60?
He wounded, there were 70 people wounded, killed 12. 58 of the people wounded were wounded from the gunfire, 4 from the tear gas, and 8 were like stampede.
Okay, 58 wounded from the gunfire.
Yeah.
And deaths?
12.
That's 70 total.
Yeah.
So we got a high percentage wound to shell
Yeah.
number there for a kid who couldn't see what he was doing.
I mean, yeah, but at the same time, this is a group of people. You've been in theaters.
Yeah.
There's only 2 ways out, and he's
Yeah.
got 3 ways out, and he's got one of them blocked off by himself.
Well, the Columbine boys had a way lower rate.
Yeah. They did.
We ain't even gonna talk about an old guy from the World War II camp that shot 250 rounds and barely
killed
barely
anybody.
broke 10%.
Yeah. So
This guy's operating at 98% even in this. So he was good in everything.
yeah, he was better than he gave himself credit for, I guess.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, you're shooting fish in a barrel, in a really small barrel. You know.
Yeah, but nothing of his is fully automatic and mounted and you know, big giant target sitting right here.
Nah,
Maybe the
that
other
would've
guy
mowed
couldn't
him
even hit
down.
90%
But
of
a
the
Delta,
tents, let alone the people.
a squadron of Delta fighters.
Oh yeah, you put four Delta Marines in something like that. Yeah,
It's over. It's
Yeah.
There would have been, like I said, there would
nobody
have
in
been
the whole
witnesses.
theater would have been left.
Yeah, dude, speaking of theater and the government, this is completely off topic. Do you know that the Russian government, I want to say in the 80s, maybe the 90s, used fentanyl gas to kill an entire theater full of people in order to get to one diplomat?
Wouldn't surprise me.
Like they found like they had like this fentanyl gas and just OD'd the whole fucking, like, it was like an opera house thing. Or like symphony orchestra theater. I mean, it was packed too.
Wouldn't surprise me. I mean, you know, some of the secrets that could come out of that place.
Jesus, I mean,
If you gotta
I wouldn't
shut
be
somebody
surprised if
up.
we'd done similar things. I mean,
I
but
mean, blankets.
Indian blankets. Yeah, good lord.
I said every flag's got a little blood.
So when he was arrested, he told cops that he booby-trapped his apartment, as Mike had mentioned. They evacuated 5 buildings around his apartment, about 5 miles from the theater, right? So people were like, they were going to these people. They moved them, I think, to the high school, and reporters would go up there like, well, how do you feel being put out of your homes due to the? And most people are like, yeah, so we didn't actually lose anybody in this shooting. So if we have to go out of our homes for a little while and hang out here, that's fine.
Yeah.
We're okay. Like,
Fucking perspective, people.
like, hey, yeah, a lot of people lost people. We didn't. So we'll hang out here for now. It's like, yeah. It's like, tell that fucking news reporter to fuck off.
Right.
But yeah, he had like jars of gasoline fucking wired up and gunpowder and bullets and
Yeah, it was
Tripwires.
kerosene and gasoline mixtures. He had a few thermite incendiary devices that were hooked to fuses to that. He had a what the hell did they call that? Some kind of a gas. It was creating fumes, some kind of flammable fumes in there that were being contained by the apartment itself. It basically turned this whole damn thing into a big ass bomb.
yeah.
That all they had to do was just kick the door in and it would have went off. No, luckily they didn't kick the door in. The way he had it set up was, it had to actually pull an object that wasn't secured. So when they pushed the door with the robot, it actually just shifted the trigger instead of pulled the trigger. Lucky for everybody there. But
Yeah, did you hear about the neighbor? So, like, before he left, after he wired everything up, before he walked out the door, he put his music on, like, super loud. And this, like, one of the neighbors went over there was banging on the door. Like, she almost set shit off. Like, and she had no idea, but she went over there banging on the door and shit. Had she, like, banged a little harder in the right spot, she would have set that
she
shit
thought
off.
about calling the police to have them come and open it up to turn it off.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been bad.
Ooh, boy. Because they wouldn't have been warned. They would have just kicked the door in. And
But any guess to why he picked that particular theater out of the other 6 he had to choose from?
I never even got into that. Why? What were your thoughts?
It was the only theater that openly had.
no handgun.
No
sign. That's right. I
guns.
did hear something about that.
It was the only one that was a gun-free zone.
Yeah, I think I saw that on the Generation Y podcast.
Now, what did it stop him? I don't know.
No, but it made it less likely.
But it made it a target. Remember, the airport wasn't a target. What's present at an airport that's not present at that particular theater? Guns. So he did not want to be shot back at.
And just like any other rule, if somebody's going to break a law, a sign or a law is not going to change them from doing it.
No.
Yeah, it's like the whole bathroom bill. You know?
Yeah, let's just all remember, we have a law against murder. Yeah, every one of these people's done it.
Yeah, they didn't care. I'm going to go murder. I don't care about your no concealed handguns law. You know, that's who cares about that at that point? Like, how silly. It's like go to Walmart and you see the same thing, and it's like, how ridiculous. I'm walking up to Walmart. I'm decked out, full body armor. I look like a character from fucking Half-Life, right? I got fucking my guns ready. I got everything ready to go. I get up the door. I see that no gun sign.
Aw.
I just, throw my guns down in anger. And then I guess, then I go to shoot up the parking lot, and boom, a sign in the parking lot. No guns. Taking away my Second Amendment rights. I'm going to go down to the Capitol. You damn libtards took all my fucking gun rights.
Oh man, but yeah, we'll definitely be getting back into the whole, the gun restrictions with the sign, and how we protect things, all that stuff. All this stuff's gonna be coming into the bigger episode, which is the main reason is why you're catching all these guys here in very short, somewhat short format. Because there's no way that we could include all these people into a lead up into a full episode.
And you can't have a discussion about gun laws, gun violence, and gun restriction without giving the reason for the season.
Right. you got to know what the heck you're getting into when you jump into that. So, folks, if you're on either side of that particular topic, I would really hope that you do your research and actually know what you're talking about instead of just being scared of what the TV tells you to be. And one thing about this particular thing, I heard a lot of people describing these sounds as fireworks. They thought at first that it was some type of a movie stunt because of the premiere and shit.
That does happen. Maybe
it does.
not anymore.
Not like that kind of shit. But folks, if you think a gun can sound like a firework, I encourage you to go to your nearest gun range. Even if you hate guns, just to go and listen to the sound of guns going off. They sound nothing like fireworks.
Well, I mean, there's an initial thing, I think, with a lot of them it was just a matter of shock. And it's just
no. That doesn't matter.
Well, at the time, this was also, you got to think, this is 2012. People should have known better by now. This isn't 1980, but at the same time, there is that initial thing with most people.
Well, okay, especially now with the
whole
you're
dealing with
scare
your
of
suburbanites and whatnot.
Go learn it could save your life. Know what a gun sounds like.
Yeah, and then look for cover the best you can. Don't rush the door. That's where everybody else is going. He's aiming there.
But yeah, it's been a running thing. I mean, the folks at Columbine thought that was fireworks, and just about every single one of these. That is a common thing that you hear is people around it think it sounds like fireworks.
Initially, that's what your brain wants to go to initially.
It might be something as simple as that
for most people. I hear a fucking car backfire or a door slam, and I'm pretty sure I've been shot. Like I'm looking for the exit wound, but I'm.
Well, I'm not trying to tell people to be the other extreme where they get paranoid of every pop that they hear, but I can pick out a gunshot in the middle of the 4th of July fireworks.
I can hear a
finale.
Yeah.
They sound completely different.
And
I've never been in a situation where I needed to know those sounds for my life.
Well,
that's whatever God you believe to.
I mean, but I think now we have to face the fact that we are all in a situation.
So I live out in the country. You hear gunshots every once in a while. And you can pick out the ones that are outdoors shooting at animals and the ones that are nearby indoors that are kind of muffled that shouldn't have happened.
Step outside on New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
It don't matter how far your neighbor is, they're shooting something.
Yeah, somebody somewhere within earshot is going to be shooting a gun. And you'll be able to tell the difference. But, go study that. Don't be thinking this stuff is fireworks. And
even if it might be, kind of assume it's not. Unless you're at a fireworks show. Then... Maybe just don't go to those if you can't tell the difference. I don't know. The trial, I didn't know this. Almost every hour of the trial was fucking was filmed.
Oh yeah.
I could have spent 30-something hours, like 32 hours watching the trial. I did not, folks. I don't even care that I didn't.
I probably spent about 4 or 5 hours today,
I did
on the YouTube.
Yeah, I watched several of the testimonies from some of the witnesses. I watched the entirety of the tape of his pre-trial and sanity evaluation. I watched that entire tape. And there's a few things in there telling. They asked him during that, because, he went tried for insanity plea. And they were asking him during that evaluation, they said, well, how do you want to be remembered? And at first he didn't really have an answer, and he's like, well, I guess they're going to remember me for this. They're going to remember this. This is what they're going to remember. And he went on with the I guess the person checking him out or whatever, the doctor, kind of went into it a little bit. And what it comes down to is he didn't really care about being remembered as a murderer. He just wanted to be remembered as somebody who did something.
Pretty much.
He was no longer a 0 now. He was now a 1. It was a -1, but he was now a 1.
No longer a 0. That probably would be why he calmed down, and that might be it. He answered his question.
Yeah. And now we were going to get into this talk about insanity. Now, generally courts view insanity as like criminally insane or whatnot, unable to stand trial or unfit for trial. The insanity plea usually requires you to be like unaware of what you're doing, or in some sort of like frame of mind where you're not really yourself. If you try to clean up after a murder, for instance, they will use that as saying that you were aware that what you were doing was wrong. If you make plans if you plan a murder, they use that as saying that you were sane and you knew what you were doing was wrong. And I like to argue that maybe we should change some of those definitions. Just because an insane person can make a plan, and it shows that they know, a degree of right from wrong, it does not prove that they are capable. You know what I mean? It does not prove that just because they know the difference between right and wrong doesn't mean that they can do anything about it.
Well, we usually have a disorder for those.
Yes, and he should have been long ago.
Well, he did run through his own self-diagnosis.
Yes, he did,
book.
And he was pretty accurate.
Well, yeah, he was extremely accurate.
Yeah.
Now, this brings me to my counterpoint. We know this guy was brilliant.
Yes.
We know his mother was a psychiatric nurse.
Yes.
We know he was studying neurology.
Sure.
Could he have been faking it?
I would say he was faking it to an extent, but I truly believe that he
studied these things.
I truly believe that his wanting to be remembered and wanting to be somebody. I do, and the whole thing with his journal. Maybe every word in his journal wasn't true, but I think that he was trying to express it, and the only way he knew how, through formula and equations.
Can't look at it through his eyes, but he was being somebody.
He was,
This boy was brilliant. This boy was being handed money. He had a future that had virtually no limit at this point.
But it held no purpose for him. And again, you have to look at, sure, maybe he knew right from wrong, but you can't say he was sane. You can't say he was capable of making the right decisions. And it's like, they at least did have degrees of, criminal insanity defenses.
Well,
maybe
like
it doesn't get him off scot-free.
Either his studying actually led him to be able to diagnose himself extremely accurate, because it's almost verbatim.
Or he fit the symptoms to it.
Or, like I said, he studied this shit. And if he was planning something like that to answer his question, I ain't saying he was in his
self-diagnosis came like several pages after his mathematic equation, right before the whys.
Yeah,
he had already tried to
this equation of humanity and life for a while. I've fully jumped into that question troubled him for quite some time, probably longer than he was able to express it while he was expressing it all. Because I know my ramblings, I'll ramble along for stuff for years before I'll ever put it down on paper to try to figure something out. If it's anything near that deep.
I was told for like 4 years I need to do a podcast.
But how many years have we been told we needed a microphone near us? Oh my God.
Well, as long as we've known each other.
Yeah.
It's like 16 years.
So, but yeah, I think there's a possibility that this guy actually he was troubled, of course, with his question, and it pushed him into that nihilistic pit that he really didn't see a way to exist in. And to my nihilistic friends, I mean, there is a ledge there that you can walk over, but, we all know nothing really matters, so fuck it.
Yeah, why go through the effort? I'm not only nihilistic, I'm also lazy.
Yeah, right. So, but, I mean, if you're trapped in that hole and you actually don't want to be there, but you realize you found yourself there, I could only imagine, that's got to be a hard pit to crawl out of. And if you're stuck in it and you're trying to find a way out, and then you figure out the mathematical equation to life, the universe, and everything, then
42.
You might actually start planning how to get away with doing that if you realize that it's wrong. And this guy was brilliant enough to actually study those particular disorders and can probably fake them.
Yeah, that's true. I'll give you that.
I'm not saying it is, just spitballing there.
Yeah,
this is the one rare case that this could actually freaking happen.
Yeah.
And I've been known to, play a part every once in a while to pull on somebody's strings to, get an outcome that I desired. Most people have. So, yeah, the possibility's there. I ain't saying he ain't crazy. I'm just saying I don't know if that was actually the answer.
Yeah.
We don't know yet.
Yeah, he was eventually diagnosed with a schizoaffective disorder. So he already has a break with reality.
No, we won't have to worry about him again.
No. During, 3 jurors were dismissed from the trial due to them violating orders not to talk to the reporters about it. 2 more jurors were dismissed after that. The first due to emotional problems following the shooting of a family member, and the second for recognizing a survivor who was wounded in the massacre. He chose not to testify in court, and on July 10th, all cases were arrested. The closing statements were made on July 14th, and formal deliberations began on the 15th. On the 16th, after the jury's deliberations, so they didn't deliberate too long, he was found guilty of 24 counts of first-degree murder, which I don't quite understand. He only killed 12 people. How did he get convicted of their deaths twice?
Good question.
Maybe if I ever find that out, I'll do a little update in a future episode.
All of them pregnant?
No. There was a woman who who was in 2 of these shootings, but she didn't make it through the second one. 140 counts of attempted first-degree murder. See, why not 280? Was he doing their math?
Well, I mean, he only fired 70 some odd shots.
Yeah.
Now, how's it more than the number of shots? Because that's only the number of times he tried to kill somebody.
Yeah, he wounded 70 people, and he got 140 counts for that. So why not double that? Do they have the same? Do they use James Holmes for their math for the? I don't know.
Common Core shit.
Oh God, Common Core. That's what happened. 1 count of possessing an illegal explosive, and sentence enhancement of a crime of violence, which I thought was...
Again, nothing come of the booby-trapping the apartment and attempted murder. Well, maybe that might be it. Maybe
no, because he had illegal explosives in his car.
Well, I'm just saying the people in the...
Why didn't they charge him for that? Why didn't they charge him 8 times
maybe
for
that's
these?
Maybe that's where the other people for the attempted murder
Is
come
this
from.
just a thing in Colorado? If you get charged for speeding 5 miles over the limit, you get a ticket for 10?
Or attempted murder of the 3 people in front of you?
Times 2?
Common Core. Why not? We can make anything work.
So sentencing phase began on... I wasn't done there. There's my answer. Fuck, I already had it fucking pasted over. All right, so the 2 murder convictions for each death were first-degree murder or attempted murder after deliberation, and first-degree murder or attempted murder with extreme indifference. Although I feel like
Sounds like double jeopardy.
I feel like they
With
should just
extra
pick
steps.
one. Extreme indifference seems fair.
Yeah.
The jury ruled that he acted in a cruel manner, lying in wait and ambushed his victims during the shooting, which constituted as aggravating factors. The jurors did declare that he did not intend to kill children when he opened fire. Okay. From my understanding, he didn't actually kill any children. They were all in most of the victims were in their 20s or 30s. No, I'm pretty sure it was all adults.
There was one child.
The-
Ashley.
No,
Victoria.
Victoria wasn't dead. Victoria didn't die.
Yes, she
She
was carried. I watched the thing on the way over here with the officer that carried her out.
one moment. A woman did miscarry a week after the attack. Veronica's mother miscarried a week after the attack. But Veronica herself, no.
No, I don't think.
Oh, there it is. There she is. Yeah, Veronica Sullivan. She was 6. So yeah, the one child and the one that she miscarried as well. Not the 6-year-old. The 6-year-old's mother miscarried. So yeah, his sister stated that he had become withdrawn after they moved to Salinas from San Diego during his early teen years. His father pleaded for his son's life, saying that he was severely mentally ill. He showed them photos of like camping trips and family vacations.
Your sister had nothing but good things to say about him.
His lawyer may urge the jurors to consider his mental illness in sentencing despite the rejection of insanity. And they rejected that appeal for clemency under the basis that mitigating factors such as mental illness does not outweigh aggravating factors such as the numbers of casualties in the massacre. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole on August 7th after they decided not to sentence him to death. He ended up receiving 12 life imprisonment sentences without parole and 3,318 years additional on top of that for attempted murder and the explosive possession.
So, like the officer said, he's definitely not. He's not got to worry
What if he
about getting
does?
into the reintegration program.
What if he makes it? What if he's one of those he's like a Methuselah character, or Nebuchadnezzar or something, lives for fucking 10,000 years?
He didn't kill any children to drink their blood.
True. So saith the ruler of Bathos.
So,
but yeah, they
we're probably not going to have to worry about this kid for a while.
yeah, I don't think we're ever going to see him again. 3 victims sued the theaters.
Unless he becomes the next Manson figure, then we'll see him on the news every once in a while.
He's not charismatic
He
enough.
just doesn't have it.
He ain't got it, man. I mean, I would like to read his sex worker reviews. I actually did try to find his reviews of his sex workers, but I could not. I would have read them off.
I don't know if he's giving any out now.
Yeah. Tyrone's a little bit of a neck biter. 3 stars though. Excellent coxmanship.
Well then.
I guess that closes out the story of John Holmes. Oh wait, no, James Holmes. One day we're gonna have to do the story of John Holmes and the Wonderland murders.
Yeah, we might as well touch on that eventually at some point in time.
Yeah,
I don't know if he's going to fit into this.
I mean, gun violence was involved, but I think this fits more into a talk on drug war.
Yeah, probably so.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, guys. It's been a pleasure again to speak with you all. I'm glad you stuck around and listened to us here. I know you got plenty of choices in your listening pleasures while you are on your drive or at work. And be sure to keep it at a low volume and have that mute button handy if you are at work. You don't want your boss coming by and hearing some of these things.
Or maybe you do. Who knows?
Well, it depends on where you're working.
Yeah. Depends on how much you like your boss. If you're listening to these mass murder episodes at work, I suggest you turn them all the way up. You know? Nobody's going to freak out. Nobody's going to think you're weird. It's important that everybody knows the possibility of what could happen. And speaking of killings in the workplace, we've been discussing doing an honorable mention, I suppose, of the going postal craze.
Oh wow, yeah, that was definitely a thing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Created its own meme.
It really did, and it was kind of unfair. it was unfair.
Well, come on, man, that was a hell of a way to quit.
Stoner's Point podcast does not condone the murder of former employees or employers or current ones. If they're future ones, you probably ain't going to have to worry about them being future ones, I suppose. So have at it.
Where the fuck are we supposed to get material for the future?
Well, remember that thing where Kennedy said things that haven't been invented yet?
Humans. That's right.
But yeah, folks, you can find us on Patreon. You can find us on Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, Podchaser, Acast. We are on YouTube, sorta, kinda. We'll be more on YouTube as we go. Yeah, you can email us at any questions or comments, suggestions at stonerspointpod@gmail.com. You can also join our $5 Patreon tier and get bonus content, early release episodes. You'll have option for chatting with us more directly than through email because, I forget sometimes I have emails for 4 or 5 days, and then I look at them.
Yeah, we've also got the Twitter and the Discord.
If you join our Patreon, you will get a link to our Discord channel. And you can get in there with everybody, and we can have a community, and you can all talk about how much we suck. That'd be pretty fucking awesome. Yeah. Let's see, where else was I going to go with this? Oh yeah, if you like our intro music, please check out Wickless Sky. Find them on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, pretty much wherever music is. Stay tuned for an upcoming new podcast series under our network, Charlie Manson's Fanny Pack, about serial killers and cults. And anything else, Mike?
No, bro, y'all have a good one. Now we'll catch you on the next one.
Yep. Fuck around and find out.